I muted. Hi.
Thank you for joining us. Just quickly, we'll see if there are any announcements out there.
Except
No.
apparently I am Leon tonight and D is Mint.
Oh.
It did switch.
Ta-da!
We'll get that fixed up. All right,
Oh
so
no, I'm gone.
recap of what's happened so far. Our adventurers took on a mission to help Gildy save a merchant guard who'd been taken in the Shadow Forest. They traveled out to the Shadow Forest, battling many different types of monsters, and including some strange abominations that they found in the Shadow Forest, and eventually came to a dome made of entirely shadow. Were able to infiltrate that, not entirely of their own volition, and defeat all of the strange corrupted beings inside, as well as the horrible shadow creature that was guarding the shadow sphere at the center of it. They broke the sphere that lifted the dome and freed the spell for all the individuals who had been trapped there, as well as getting rid of the portals, which seem to be going to other such domes in the Shadow Forest. They learned from Alphonse, Gildy's husband, who's long lost but not anymore, that there's potentially many of these domes throughout the Shadow Forest, and these are probably what has been contributing to the more evil nature through the Shadow Forest in the last decade or so. And we pick it up as our heroes have freed the people who had been enslaved, moved a little bit away from that area to finally take a well-deserved long rest. And you can have your long rest. I'm just curious, what are the watches for the evening as we start to get going?
Who is the most hurt should sleep.
Yeah, Turok is probably first watch because he was probably in the best shape.
All right.
Okay.
I can join him, or unless you want to, Talon.
No, it's good. I got 14 hit points, so I wouldn't mind going a bit later.
All right. So first watch is Torok and Jacob. Second will be
I can
Guilty
go.
would want to take watch with Alphonse, although Alphonse should rest the whole time and not watch. Now that
You can just
about
watch
that
everything.
more. So Guilty will take watch with Mint.
all right. So second watch, get Mint and Gildy, and that leaves the third watch for Leon and Talon.
The two brains. All right.
So the evening passes relatively uneventfully. Are there anything you want to any conversations you want to have with the person you're on watch with while you're there? Also remembering you do have like 20 other people who are sort of scattered through the forest around you. There's probably at least one other person on watch. One of the more robust people that you helped save is probably sort of also keeping an eye on some of the others and may sort of wander in and out of things. But yeah, any conversations you might want to have?
Well, I have a couple of questions. Is the weather actually decent?
Yes, it's a nice night. It's still the Shadow Forest, so it is quite dark.
Yeah.
But it's not raining. It's not miserable. Yeah.
Okay. Then, right. So I'd mentioned what I would want to do then is I would, as we're kind of settling in and stuff, cast Detect Magic as a ritual, and then basically examine each individual who we had rescued and Jacob, checking them for any lingering magical effects or anything like that.
Okay. Jacob, you would probably see a couple items on him from his various special little things he can create.
No evidence of the enchantment?
No, the enchantment is gone.
Okay.
Alphonse would not have any. He can cast spells, but they've all dissipated at this point. He doesn't have anything residually sort of up, so he would look normal. And all the rest of them seem like they have completely been broken from their enchantment as well.
Cool. And then I would spend as long as it took to basically kind of encircle the camp with alarm spells.
You're probably getting I'm not sure if you have enough silver thread to do all of that, depending on how many you want to do at the same time. I think it requires a little bit of silver thread.
But I thought that if it didn't have a dollar value, your arcane focus took the place of.
Potentially.
Gildy also has alarm and can make up for the spots that Leon can't quite get.
I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like Jacob might think that everything has a dollar value.
I have a feeling.
Yeah, there's no gold piece value to it.
I could get some good money for your silver thread.
Yeah, because a character can use a component pouch or spellcasting focus in place of the components specified for a spell, but if a cost is indicated, a character must have that specific component. And if a spell states that a material component is consumed, the character must provide this component for each casting.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no gold piece value for the material component, and it is not consumed.
No, it's not consumed, but you'd still need a fair amount of it for each casting. Is all I'm thinking.
Right. But if it isn't consumed, then you can just reuse the same thing, and there's no gold piece value, so I wouldn't need a material component. I would be able to just use my arcane focus.
All right. Remind me what your focus is?
It's the thing that floats around me.
Oh, yes. You made the floating stone your focus. That's right.
Yep.
All right. Well, how many? If you're casting it as a ritual, it would take a significant amount of time. But,
Oh yeah.
And how big of an area can it encompass?
It is a 20-foot cube.
Yeah. All right. Given the fact that you're not necessarily packed tight together, and there are 27 of you,
That's a lot.
yeah. It's going to take a while to cast that. But yep, you can sort of a whole bunch of alarm spells around the group.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of. Oops. I will cover the area as best I can.
Yes, and sorry, was somebody else?
On first watch, I think I'm just going to go and grab my jug, pour a couple beers, bring it over to Torok, and offer one to him.
All right.
I'm going to try and sneak some of that mead to help me fall asleep. Me fall asleep.
How much are you going to try to take to help you fall asleep?
Pint.
All right. Yeah, that'll do fairly well.
Okay.
Yes. So you're sharing your alchemist jug with Torok. Torok, what do you think of this?
Turok says thank you and enjoys a bit of a beverage.
You seem
That does not imbibe a lot, but is very appreciative.
You're quite an accomplished fighter out there. I was impressed with some of those abilities. You're like teleporting around the battlefield. That was fantastic.
That is one of the more immediately less destructive sides of the rage that I'm afflicted with.
Well, anytime we ever get in a spot where we're being attacked by a bunch of people that want to kill us, you be as destructive as you want to be, my friend. Where did you train? I'm just kind of getting some background and building some companionship with him. Mm-hmm. I think Jacob would have been really impressed with his abilities. And he's feeling a little more protective, considering he healed from unconsciousness half the group.
Yeah,
it's a new side for him.
Turok looks at him and just shrugs and goes, "I don't know. I don't remember anything past a very short time ago."
Any type of perhaps I can help. Well, I don't think I can help, but is there any smells that you think you've encountered that have almost triggered a memory for you?
but Dragonborn, we don't smell quite like that.
Interesting. I'm gonna try it anyways, just on a whim. One of my little tinkerings
Yep.
is to imbue an item that emits an odor. So I'm gonna do what's a good one? Maybe a strong smell of like wine and wine and booze. I'm gonna do that and just kind of fill our area with a bit of a wine smell.
All right, Torok. Oh, and while Torok's doing this, Jacob, give me your start of session roll. Torok, give me a.
It's an int check, right?
Yeah, intelligence check.
Thank you.
What do I want Torok to give me? Oh, this is gonna be a good one. Torok, give me an intelligence check. Memory is generally intelligence. Give me an intelligence check. Yep. All
8.
right. Sounds good. This actually does spark a memory for you. And it's unfortunately a little vague, but this is actually a bit of a surprising event for you. It is the first memory you have had of anything before, I think it's about a year and a half ago, since that time. And it's just this overwhelming, you get the scent of sort of alcohol and mead and wine, and you are overwhelmed for a moment with just all of your senses going a little bit nuts. You're hearing people talking. It's like there's 100 people around you all talking at the same time, laughing and shouting. There's music playing in the background. There's like very beautiful music playing. You can hear movement, people moving around you, and I think I'm gonna just cap it there. You don't get any sort of sight, reference from it, but yeah, you get the strong sense of just the smell of wine, people talking, and yeah, it's like you're in the middle of a party. And the specific thing that comes to you about this is feeling separate and distant and left out.
And Jacob would see Turok actually processing this, and then look at him and goes, "Do that again."
I'll try a couple other odors.
Yep.
To do along with that. Like, did it trigger something?
A memory of a gathering or party. It was separate, but there was music and festivities.
I feel your pain. I too am afflicted with memory loss. Mine started a few years ago, and I don't know. Maybe it's something about this place that we're in. I've been getting flashbacks to different things that have happened in my life.
Interesting.
So I'll try a few more things, like maybe like a campfire or the general smell of an inn, or just kind of random things. But
all right. So give me an intelligence check for the campfire.
Oops.
I should see how many of these I can actually make.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I can just do 4 objects at a time. No limit.
All right. Oh, campfire.
19.
Yeah. Again, you get sort of this. You've been around a lot of campfires since you've sort of regained yourself, but there's something about this specific that sort of jogs your memory as well, and you get just a flash of an image, no sound, but you're around a campfire, and there are perhaps, you're not quite sure, you can't sort of look around to see more of them, but you're thinking anywhere between a dozen to perhaps up to 50 Dragonborn that are sort of somewhere around you and around this fire, and there's other fires, and then it's just gone in a flash.
And at this point, Turok is doing all he can to just hold on to the image and try to see who the people are. And he just
Yep.
looks at Jacob and just goes, "Thank you. I remembered my people." And then he trails off, just trying to hold on to that memory.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to kind of knowing what I've gone through myself. I'm just going to kind of take a step back and just let him process.
Yeah, and sort of in that silence, you're trying desperately to recall, but really there's only one face that comes to you, and it's of a young blue dragonborn. That's it.
So that will occupy Turok for a while.
Yeah.
And I just sit there. I fill up his pint glass every now and then. We just kind of sit in the silence, keep a watch, and enjoy some pints.
All right. Sometime during this, one of the other humans will sort of just sort of wander around. This is actually is going to be the big the half orc that was sort of helping you during the fight, and doesn't even say much. Just sort of nods to both of you and sort of continues a bit of a round of scouting during your watch.
Cool.
All right. So you two are able to get some sleep. I don't know how much that's going to preoccupy Turok, but you can figure that out and let me know in the morning. And Gildy and Mint, is there anything that you wanted to bring up on your watch?
I called it. I knew there was another reason you wanted to go into the Shadow Forest. You had a personal stake in this all along.
Gildy kind of shrugs and she says, yes and no. I've been searching for Alphonse for years now, taking these jobs and going into the forest with this group or that group. Sometimes just myself, though that can be a little bit too dangerous, but I had almost given up hope. So and she just kind of shrugs again and it's like Gildy doesn't feel that she totally lied to them because she had been starting to give up hope and it was mostly just a job. But she does admit to Mint, yes, I had always been hoping to find him and I'm now very happy that I have.
I can commiserate with that. Hope is something to definitely hold on to.
All right. So yes, your watch passes uneventfully as well. And yeah, probably during this time is when Leon is doing their trancing. You only need about 4 hours or so. The watch probably wouldn't be that long. So probably about the time that watch is ending is when you're finishing your trance or so. So yes, actually I'll get to that in a sec. Leon, you come out of your trance, and I get the feeling you're doing your own little thing for a while.
I mean, I figured I was going to be doing that before I started trancing.
Oh, okay. I thought you said it was after.
No, it's okay. I had sent you a message in the Zoom chat, but that's good.
Yeah. Okay. I caught the journal bit. I didn't catch the other bit. Yeah. So, well, yeah. Anything you wanted to bring up while you're on watch?
Sure. I guess I'll talk to Talon. And what did you think about those creatures and the rituals and everything that they were doing?
Seemed evil.
Indeed.
Yes.
Seemed like a terrible abomination of magic. I think that someone needs to bring that shadowed master to justice, and I don't know that there's anyone else who could do it, and I think that we should be the ones to do it. What do you think?
Yes. the forest is not safe. If we were to get rid of the evil, it would be a good thing.
Exactly. Excellent. Will you help me convince the others?
Tom kind of thinks about it for a moment and it's like, yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Nice. So before everyone else wakes up and before the night finishes, Jacob, you are having a nice, pleasant dream about just feeling free. Like, I don't know, you're not quite sure if it was because you're in a forest, but you feel like you're just sort of running free in a forest. You feel carefree. You know, not a care in the world. And you realize that it's some perhaps younger version of you as a boy, just running through a forest. And you come across, and like you get the feeling this particular jaunt is going a little bit further, a little bit further from home than you're usually gone. You're maybe stretching your sort of boundaries as sort of a free-roaming child, and you come across something strange. It's a bit of a stone, most of a stone doorway that's in the forest, and it's overgrown. Lots of vines and trees that are sort of growing up, even behind sort of the half wall that's there. There's definitely some form of ruins here. And this fascinates you. You're like, ooh, ancient something, and you start poking around and looking around, and as you're doing that, you hear a voice, and look over, and you can see this. It's a girl that you've seen sort of at other points in your vague, odd remembrances. Half-elf girl, and she sort of looks at you and says, "Hello, what are you doing here?" And you reply back with, I'm just exploring. Who are you? And she says her name is Mridu. So it's Mrybu. Make sure I'm spelling that right.
How do you pronounce it then again? Pronounce them?
So
Mirdu?
Yeah, essentially think of redo, but with an M in front. Mridu. And where was I? Oh, that's one. She introduces herself, and you don't really care that there's some strange half-elf girl in the forest in these ruins, and you just sort of ask if she wants to play, and she's like, yeah, that'd be great. And you spend the entire day just sort of running and hiding and playing around these sort of ancient ruins. But when you go to leave at the end of this, she doesn't come with you. You sort of go out that initial sort of doorway that you came in, and she goes as far as the door, and then you look back. It's like, come on. You're assuming she's from the village, and you take her back, and she's like, no, I can't leave. And when you ask her why, you can't leave. She says that this is my home. I'm from here. I can't leave here. And that's where that dream sort of fades off at that point. And you wake up again with that, full sort of knowledge of this, and remembering that girl for some other dreams. Just sort of, yeah. Well, you can tell me, how do you feel about that?
One, feel very kind of relaxed, just because it was such a fun dream. It brought back some really nice memories. And as I'm trying to once again, like kind of Torok did, hold on to it a little bit to get the image of her. Is there any sort of like noticeable features of the half of Mirdu that I noticed?
Yes. The most sort of notable thing about her is that compared to pretty much anybody you've met in the north, she has much darker skin. So potentially she's from much further south. Potentially she, maybe if she's half elf, she's half dark elf. Although you don't quite know a lot about dark elves, you don't think they actually have sort of just that tanned skin. It's usually there's sort of a different tint to it. Yeah, it's this darkness of her skin that seems to be the most identifying thing about her.
Cool. And the other bit is, as I kind of wake up and it goes away, I start to get disturbed that I'm back in reality. The ruins that I was playing at, is it at all familiar? Does it feel like the ones where I woke up?
No, the ones where you woke up were not in the middle of a forest.
Okay.
They were sort of on some craggy hills, and there were some trees around. But this is definitely like the forest was in and around and all through these sort of ruins.
Cool.
Yeah, a different set.
Yeah.
Leon, give me a perception check.
Perception.
Perfect. You are consumed in convincing Talon to join your cause, and completely do not notice whatever it is that you could have noticed. All right, that is awesome. Everybody wakes up. There's sort of some meager rations. Gildy probably does a little bit of foraging for some food, and a couple others. Alphonse is decent at looking for food, as well as probably can create some good berries and help feed some people. Yeah, you managed to get everybody fed to a point where you're not sort of extremely hungry, but your rations are probably being pulled relatively thin, trying to feed these 20 some odd people. You get going for the day. Again, it's another decent day, no rain, although it is still the shadow forest and darkness in most of the places that you're in. It gets a little bit better as you travel throughout the day, and by the evening, essentially, you have reached, by about mid-afternoon, you reach the trail that you had come in on, that you left, and are able to follow that out into evening to get to the edge of the Shadow Forest and make a camp there to be completely outside of the Shadow Forest.
So when we stop for the midday meal, then I'm going to strike up a conversation with some people, because there were a couple of people who had asked about like the war and like what had been happening and things like that, and just kind of strike up that conversation and talk about, oh, this war, it seems so terrible. Look at all the things that it's doing. My goodness.
Yeah, anybody?
I'm in on that conversation.
All right. So what are you saying?
For the people that we ended up establishing, that they were asking about their homeland, and it had already kind of fallen since last time that they had kind of been around and about. Just talking about how it's progressing, where it's kind of stalled in the Riverlands, and how contentious everything is, and like, where do they see themselves going or trying to do at this point?
Yeah, you get very a lot of different sort of reactions to this. So a good chunk of the people that you're escorting back are just like, war, like they're not necessarily from regions that have been affected. They're not that concerned about it, but definitely those few that had been sort of fighting back a little bit more. So Malika, the elf, definitely gets sort of much more quiet when you bring up the elements of the war, and it's just, I just want to get away from it. I fear for my family, for everybody who I knew in what's the name of that city? I think it is Ayala. And I would love to go back. I would love to help, but I'm not. I mean, I'm willing to fight to save my own life, but I'm not really a great warrior or anything like that. I don't know what I do. I might try and make it back to Dell by some other means and take sort of a long way around and see if I can help in some way. But I don't know. She seems very torn about this. Sehun, who's the big half-orc, oddly enough, you get a sense from him that despite sort of his size, he's a very sort of mild-natured man, and just you bring up the war and he sort of shrinks a little bit, and like war's not good. We left because things were just getting worse and worse in Rukin, and the Empire does not treat the people there well, and the people there do not treat the Empire well. Nobody's treating anybody well, and just sort of shuts up after that. Probably the woman who was with him, Amiri, who's a human, just sort of lays a hand on his shoulder and sort of comforts him a little bit and just says that we are all that's left of sort of a group that was like family to each other, even though we may not have all been blood, and we weren't strong enough to resist as some others were, but we still fell under the persecution when people did resist, and many of our family was killed, and we couldn't stay there any longer. We had to just go somewhere else, and we just want to get as far away from the war as we can. Anybody else among your group, sort of, does that bring up anything for anybody?
Darog would not be involved in this conversation. Doesn't have a lot to add.
Talon's just kind of off, keeping to himself.
Gildy would be avoiding it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for the mead and notice that it's significantly lighter than yesterday. And
It was only a pint.
I look accusingly.
Yeah.
Also, it's not your mead, it's the group's mead.
So, Leon, you definitely get a sense that there's either people are trying to avoid that topic or just aren't comfortable talking about it in general.
Noted.
So you set up a camp at the end of the day, and you're outside of the Shadow Forest. Everybody's breathing a little bit easier. It's still going to be a couple of days back to Silver Lake. But,
As we've been traveling, I would like to do a head count just to make sure we have the same number of people as we have had at camp. Like nothing from the forest has snatched any of us up.
Yes, you still everyone is still present.
Okay.
Now everyone grab hold of the rope.
Yes.
Any rabbits in the area?
Nope, haven't seen any strange anthropomorphized rabbits or other sort of other than maybe a couple that you caught to eat, which were not white and did not have vests on. Yes, you've not seen any other interesting rabbits about.
I assume the rabbit fell prey to whatever shadow stuff was going on.
Or just did its own thing. You're not quite sure.
It seemed to be a pretty capable rabbit.
Are you mentioning any of the things that you experienced from the rabbit?
Yeah, maybe, I guess, well, I won't mention, but at one of the times that we've kind of gathered for food or something, I'm probably playing with this, very pastel, colorful sort of egg, and just kind of looking it over. I don't know if anyone else notices that, but I will certainly be doing that.
Leon, you probably would have noticed that as a new item when you sort of do your regularly, detect magic.
Oh.
And I do like devices, so I may be intrigued by it also.
Yes.
Gildy would probably notice and just kind of like cock her eyebrow and be like, whatever.
Okay, I noticed the egg and I say, why would you paint something you're going to eat?
Not going to eat it.
Well, can I have it then? I wouldn't mind an egg.
Actually, I rather like this one. Seems.
But I thought you weren't going to eat it.
I'm not going to eat it, but I'm going to keep it.
You're weird.
It's a nice egg.
Very weird. I think he's got problems, guys.
It's not an egg for eating, Minusette.
Oh,
Certainly not with those colors.
wait, is like a lizard that breathes fire gonna hatch out of that thing or something?
Wow, let's see.
Torah, you saucy brute.
It's not one of mine.
I should hope not. You're a boy.
Might I be able to look at it, please?
Talon kind of shrugs and lets Leon examine it.
Thank you. Examine it.
Give me an Arcana check.
I will. Let's figure it. Oh, there we go.
And I'm assuming, do you mention anything around sort of the circumstances for how you came by it?
No.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Yeah, you examine it and sort of, concentrate on it with some detect magic for a while, get the sense of what sort of magic is that?
The delicious kind.
So,
The
Talon,
delicious kind, yes.
do your people
Enchantment.
lay eggs?
Enchantment.
Yep.
5 people?
Oh.
No.
Do I get any sense of what it would be used for?
Yes, you get a sense of sort of divine energy from it in terms of the effect that it gives off. And you are able to determine sort of, especially with that roll, sort of studying it for probably a good 20 minutes or so, using sort of various little detect magics and other sort of prestidigitation to sort of work with it. It will, yes, allow whoever is carrying it to cast the Bless spell.
All right. So I inform Talon so that hopefully everyone definitely make sure that Minusette catches this fact.
And because you rolled so high, you get an additional sense from it that you think there's a restriction on that only certain people would be able to cast this spell.
I see.
You're not quite sure exactly what that restriction is, but you wouldn't have got that at all. It just sort of on a regular thing. But yeah, you think that only certain people would be able to use this. So there's some limitation on it.
There you go.
Interesting.
Indeed. Where did you get this egg?
Did you see? Do you remember the bunny?
Bunnies don't lay eggs.
I think we all saw the bunny. You mean the anthropomorphic rabbit?
Yes.
You sure it didn't have a chicken friend? Or there was some kind of lizard?
I'm standing right here.
Well, you already established you couldn't have laid the egg.
Yes. Talon kind of looks at Bin just strangely. It's like the bunny seemed to have left this as a gift.
Interesting. You certainly have a way of receiving gifts.
Talon kind of thinks about that. It's like, it has been a strange journey.
You don't usually receive gifts from like celestial beings and such? Is that not a regular occurrence in your life?
Not a regular one, no.
All right.
Still, though, like twice in a week, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. It is strange.
Mint decides to kind of sidestep and then back away slowly. I'm going to find out where Gildy is, because Gildy seems to be more normal.
At that point, Gildy is probably off gathering food for dinner. Maybe doing a bit of a hunt or doing some other sort of gathering for food, because again, you have to feed this 20-some-odd group of people, and your supplies are running a little thin. So, yeah, you eventually find Gildy coming back. Gildy, give me a survival check.
Okey doke.
See how well everybody eats tonight. Oh, wow.
Oh,
Natural 20.
tasting.
Everyone's doing real well.
Yeah. So Gildy comes back to the camp, sort of a little bit unbeknownst to most of you, to gather like 3 or 4 other people and go back out again to help her carry back the small deer and boar that she managed to both bring down. And yeah, you're feasting exceptionally well tonight, and you're going to have leftovers for at least a day, if not a couple of days.
Excellent.
To help add to the food, I'm going to be somewhat selfless for the first day at least, and produce a gallon of honey from my alchemical jug.
Nice, nice honey glazed, leg of boar. Yep.
All right. It seems like we're feasting and we're having like a celebratory kind of a thing. So I'm going to use prestidigitation to like flavor all of the food.
Ooh. Very nice. Yeah, and you definitely get the sense, especially with this sort of big haul of food now and being out of the Shadow Forest, everybody just seems a whole lot happier and relieved, and there's definitely sort of a celebratory atmosphere, to the point that probably a bunch of them are probably staying up a little later than they would have. There's depending on whether the jug of alcohol is being shared around or not, and the skin of mead. There's definitely some people who would be partaking of those and otherwise getting a little bit tipsy, and just staying up and celebrating and otherwise having a good time.
I'm gonna sneak more mead if Jacob isn't protecting it.
Well, on the day that I produce honey, so I can only produce one type of liquid a day. So on the day I do honey, I definitely have a stronger eye on the mead.
So should I roll stealth then?
Are you sharing it around if people are asking for it in this celebratory atmosphere?
I suppose we could share the mead. It'll probably be gone, but we could share it as long as I get some.
Gildy, if Jacob was like guarding it jealously, Gildy would kind of like give him one of those mom looks, like, you need to share with your friends. We're all having fun here.
And I'm on the side of sharing because it means I get some.
I think it's Mint more that has like an iron grasp on this mead. I don't think it's mead.
Well, to both Jacob and Mint, then Gildy's like, okay.
It is a topic of conversation on more than one occasion, a little too much, and everyone's getting tired of us talking about the mead.
You do note, though, like especially with anybody that you shared with, it is quite strong. It's got quite a kick to it, and yeah, even just sort of a couple sort of sips of it does seem to get some people, a little bit sort of tipsy, especially since they're probably a little bit, emaciated, having been, lost in their enspelled state for quite some time. Actually, Jacob and Mint, you can both give me a perception check.
Sorry, who's rolling the perception check? I got distracted.
You and Jacob.
Okay. Perception.
Pretty good. And for Mint.
Yep. Roll.
Very good. All right.
Yay!
So you both noticed this, actually. Jessica, a little bit more. Jessica, give me a Constitution saving throw.
Oh, you just scared me. Why? Okay, one more.
Well, your dice seem to be working today, so...
Yeah.
Thank goodness. About time. Oh, yay.
Yeah. So you noticed this because as you've been maybe a little bit more covetous of this skin of mead, you've maybe had a little bit more than you should have. However, it sort of goes around and people are taking sips out of it. Goes to a bunch of different people. It goes pretty much to everybody, and everybody has at least a couple good sips. That it comes back to you, and you're like, does it actually feel that much lighter?
Nice.
And Jacob's liver fails its Constitution throw.
Has this been going around the entire camp?
Pretty much.
And everybody's probably drinking as much as they can, knowing that they may not see it again, and it's the same weight?
Pretty much.
For science, I am going to try back some more meat.
Give me another Constitution saving throw.
Okay, one moment.
And then I'm curious what Leon didn't do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Turok is so carrying mint in the morning. Oh,
I'm fine.
Bam.
Yeah, no, you're handling your liquor really well. You've had a lot of this, and you are like seeing double and like very tipsy, but you are like you're able to move around and do whatever you need to do, and you know you are well into your cups, but you're handling it very well. You're not getting passing out or otherwise having ill effects from this.
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
So my role was originally to see whether Leon was going to have anything to drink, and I originally was going to go with the higher I rolled, the more likely. And rolling a 1, I was like, you know what? I think that should be an intelligence check because it's a really bad idea for me to drink. And I'm going to say that I failed miserably my intelligence check and decided to drink.
All right,
That's nice, I love
so
it.
one sort of swig of this it's strong stuff.
Yeah.
And give me a Constitution saving throw.
We might be carrying Leon back.
I think a few of us may need to make that Constitution saving throw once we discover that it's.
Yes.
I'm just going to do it preemptively.
Oh, actually, not so bad.
Not bad. All right. So even with just that one sip, you feel it. Like you're not completely gone, but you are very much feeling the effects of alcohol on you. Jacob, you're doing just fine. Again, you're feeling it, but you're able to handle it just fine. So. Yeah.
Hey, Torok, have you tried this?
I'm good, thank you.
No, it's real good.
No,
You
what
should.
you
It's
missing?
good.
It's really
It's
good.
good. Try it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll make you remember stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What? Does Torok forget things?
No. Sorry, Torok. I didn't mean to.
I think I'm going to take the next watch.
I'll join you, buddy.
I mean,
Actually,
I can remember things for you. My brain works so well. I remember everything.
actually, I need to make some rolls. Give me a sec.
Do you remember
And we
that
broke
battle
game, guys.
with the skeleton with the glowing eyes who kept coming after me even when I teleported away? That was crazy. I thought I
was
was
crazy.
going to die.
No, I'm curious. Who else would have maybe partaken of this celebratory mead before knowing that it was, yeah.
I'm trying to decide if
Actually.
Talon is a drinker.
I know, I'm trying to decide the same for Gildy, because like on the one hand, she's very pragmatic and she can be kind of like motherly and protective. So I don't think that she would have very much, but also she's been reunited with her husband, whom she hasn't seen for many years.
Yeah.
So
And alcohol is much more common in general, right? It is the drink that most people have when you can't get to fresh water, which is a little bit scarce in some places. So most of you would probably be at least used to drinking potentially alcohol. Like even at the Abbey, you'd probably have drunken like watered wine, if anything, for sort of many of the meals and that sort of thing. So you would at least have some exposure to it, unless you were sort of on a very strict regiment. So
Just
I think
so.
I think
Go ahead.
Jacob has a really bad idea. Good idea. So
Okay.
he gets a little drunk, and as kind of the atmosphere is livening up and everyone's having a great time, he looks up. I'm assuming there's like a canopy of leaves above us.
a little bit. You're sort of slightly away from the forest because people didn't want to be in the forest.
Okay.
But there's still like some trees that are close by. That there's some sort of leaves that are sort of reaching out, probably within like 20 to 30 feet of you.
Okay, I'm gonna pick one that's there and cast fairy fire inside the leaves to make them all glowy and sparkly to get some nice disco effect going on.
Nice.
in the evening.
Leon undoubtedly stares up at that for a while, being like, "Oh." This reminds me of the palace. Oh my goodness.
If Turok was another character, he'd just be going, oots, oots.
I miss the palace. This forest is disgusting.
And I'm going to stumble over to Leon and just whisper, if you attack the leaves, you get advantage.
Oh.
So yes, Talon and Gildy, what's the final verdict?
I think Talon, for the community, asked, like, we're all in a very happy kind of state. He wouldn't have a lot, but he would have a little. I don't think he's typically a drinker, but in this case, he'd have a little just to share. He doesn't get a lot of camaraderie in his life.
Yeah, Gildy would also have some just so she can have like a little celebratory moment with Alphonse.
All right. So yes. Go ahead.
It's so wonderful that we found your husband. I'm engaged, and I would really like to get back home and actually get married, but there's things that make that impossible, and it's really kind of unfortunate. But I do really miss my home so much. And this forest is terrible, and the wetness of the mud. It was terrible.
Mint tries to give Leon a hug.
Gildy like tears up a little bit because she knows how hard it is to be without your loved one and to be away from your home for so long. And she's like, I'm so sorry that you're away from your fiance and your home. And is there any way we can help you get back to your home?
Group hug for Leon, everyone!
Group hug for Leon!
And while all this is happening, Turok grabs the meat, puts the lid on, and puts it away from the crowd.
And then we find out who the DD is.
Yes.
I need to make another roll because I really don't know how Leon would feel about getting group hugged by everyone.
Yeah, you are kind of a clean freak.
But you are being emotional right now.
Thank you so much for the sentiment. But you all smell terrible. Because we've been in this terrible forest. I appreciate it, but if you could never do this again.
So good! And I take a small device and I get an overwhelming fume of potpourri around this whole bubble of hug.
Does it smell like patchouli?
That is so much better. I appreciate that so much, Jacob. I thought you didn't like me.
Buddy, I got your back.
You seem to think I'm a fool, but you're an okay person.
I love you, man.
Does the smell affect Torok?
Huh?
Does the smell affect Torok?
Potpourri? Nope, nothing sparks there.
Okay.
Potpourri.
No, I mean, really, like, unless you could end the war, that would be the only way that you could possibly help with my marriage. Well, I've forgotten a word. What is wrong? What is this doing to my brain? I've forgotten a word.
Guilty pats Leon on the back and is like, there. It happens to the best of us.
Oh, no, but not to me. No. I'm a prodigy.
The war. Did your spouse die in the war?
No. Oh, no. He's still alive. I just... I can't marry him while the war is happening because the stupid city council... Not city council, but the I can't... What
words?
Are they warring? Are they doing war stuff? What's wrong? We can fix it.
No.
No, we can. Look, I'll roll. We'll fix it. Too meta.
Yeah.
Where is home for you, Leon?
No, the Council of Elders. Home for me is in the Roratory, of course. As I said, I am Leon. Paramita of Roratory.
All right. So, given that, a couple people can probably make some intelligence checks or history checks.
I'd like to
one
make a
second.
history check.
I'm just gonna see who would potentially get advantage on that. Yep, Gildy, you'd get advantage on that one. Mint, you can make one. You wouldn't get advantage.
That's okay.
What do
still
we
get a
determine? Is this like
+4.
is this insight? Is this
It's history.
history? All right, history is still pretty good for me.
I got a 12.
And I have advantage. If this will ever roll. It's trying to roll. I think my internet might be struggling. Oh, there it goes. Oh, well, I don't really need advantage.
Yeah.
Natural 20. Right. So, yeah. No, it's not so much that you're catching Leon in a lie, per se. No, it's just you caught something strange that doesn't quite line up. And it was sort of a history aspect of things. Where are we here? There we are. Yeah, so Council of Elders is the ruling body of Del, not Emrotan, which is where Leon is claiming to be from. But yeah, specifically mentioned the Council of Elders, which is from Del.
Totally from Emrotan.
Yeah, Jessica, Mint would probably realize that the Council of Elders sounded familiar, but I couldn't quite place it. So.
Plus, I'm tipsy.
Yeah. You'd probably have disadvantage anyway. Yeah, so something interesting there, and Talon, what did you think of that answer?
Talon's trying to figure out whether or not the fiance is on the Council of Elders, or is because the council is preventing them from being together.
Yes.
Talon doesn't ask. Talon's just wondering.
Yeah, Gildy doesn't mention anything about it. She figures Leon has her reasons for lying about it, so it's not her place to dig into it.
No. All right. So yes, it's a very celebratory evening. It is a very boisterous evening. Leon, Mint, and Jacob, you don't get a watch.
Could you imagine if we had a watch?
Yeah, you sleep
We
really
could
well
totally
that
watch.
night.
We'll go
If I had a
first.
watch and Torok was asleep, I'd paint all his claws.
In fact, yeah, Leon, you sleep that night.
That would be like probably the first time I've ever slept.
You just keep drinking.
Yeah, you so peaceful, and you just sort of relax and fall over, and just you're out for the rest of the night.
The morning, Turok looks at you and goes, "You snore."
Did you say that to me?
No, to Leon.
Kind of the worst time to have just taken the feat that means I remember everything.
Yep.
Now I remember all of that. That's great.
Yeah, it will say just because of the alcohol involved, it takes you a little bit of time to remember all of it, but it will all come back to you. You will have that full memory.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I say time, I'm just being like throughout today.
Yeah.
Remember it fully by the end of the day, sort of thing. Yeah.
So Mint goes up to Torok and says, I remember a sparkly tree and an egg I couldn't eat.
That actually happened.
I know it did, but I don't remember the context. Oh, there's never-ending Mead. Where'd it go?
Oh, Mint.
Or just shakes his head.
Yep.
Did you see it? Did you see the Mead flask?
I love how the barbarian is keeping the alcohol from the gnome and not drinking it. All right. So, It takes a long time for a lot of people to get up that morning. You're a little slow going. You don't really get going until probably about mid-morning or so. So depending on how much you want to push to get back to the city, you'll either have to go a little bit later or sort of pick up the pace and try and sort of do a bit of a faster march today. Any preference for one of those two, or are you just gonna let it go?
I'm okay to push. Maybe even use my expeditious retreat to get there sooner.
All right.
Gildy would
But I don't want to leave anybody behind.
Yeah.
Gildy would want to make sure that we were all going slowly enough so that the most hungover people could keep up, whether it's people from this group or people like the people we picked up. She would want to make sure that everyone was able to keep up comfortably without feeling too ill.
So yeah, you go slowly, but you go a little bit later that day, and by the time you're resting, it's dark. Everyone, especially the hungover people, are just sort of, they didn't necessarily get the greatest sleep, or they're up too late, and everyone just sort of goes to sleep. They just want to rest sort of right away. There's luckily you've got the food that's cold, but you've got sort of food left over from the previous night, and a bunch of people just sort of ate as they were sort of sitting down. And yeah, there's sort of that second day coming to a close.
Leon definitely would have acted like nothing had happened. Like everything was normal, nothing had happened. Everything is fine.
All right.
As it should be.
You're like a cat.
As we're coming to a close on this second day, we're going to take a quick break. And since I didn't ask for an offer earlier, and since it seems particularly appropriate in this session, I'm just going to throw out if there's any audience questions on things you'd like to know about some of our players. Don't know if we'll get to answering them or not, but throw them out, and maybe something will come up. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. We'll see you then. Take care. Welcome back, and thank you for rejoining us again as we commit to our heroes going back to their, well, not necessarily their home, but where they started from initially. So yes, we left off with people settling down for the second night. Are you going to be trying to keep a watch? You're in a little bit more sort of civilized lands. There's some farms about, but there could still potentially be
giant insects.
Yeah, same. Yeah, because of that, I think Talon would be inclined to do a watch, and he'd probably be fine to go earlier this time.
All right. So yeah, we'll assume you set up sort of a watch system. So yeah, Talon, you're going to go first watch, you're thinking, or?
Yeah.
All right. Who else is on first watch?
How close by are these farms?
You definitely passed sort of a few that as it was getting later on in the day, but since you sort of stopped in darkness, you're not sure at this point. They're a fair distance between, so you'd have to sort of, whether you can see lights in the distance to see a farm or not. They're definitely sort of several miles between them.
Well, are you thinking about kicking somebody out of their house and taking over their bed?
No, because I remembered that I don't need their bed now. But yes, I am considering going and sleeping in someone's farmhouse instead of in the rough.
You do have a tent.
Yeah, but it's not raining or anything, so.
No.
So I think about it, but it's too far away. And we have a nice little thing going here, so I will stay here.
Who else is on first watch?
I'll take first watch with Talon.
All right. Second?
Second with Turok, if he's cool with that.
Sure. That leaves Leon and Jacob for the last watch. All right. So, first watch. Anything you'd want to go over while you're sort of sitting there?
So Talon looks at Gildy and it's like, Alphonse seems nice. He's never met Alphonse before.
Yeah, Gildy says, "Yep, I like him." We've been together for a long time, and I'm happy to have him back after several years.
That's good. No, Morgan will be very happy.
Gildy says, "Well, Morgan will be Morgan."
It's true. That's what Talon said.
Yep. Relatively quiet watch. That passes
Gildy has
uneventfully.
no other pieces
Yep.
of conversation to pursue.
Second watch, you guys chat about anything?
Turok would probably mention the 2 memories that were triggered by Jacob's scent, especially now that Mint is sober.
Yes.
Is she though?
No,
Torok.
I haven't been able to find the mead flask,
Okay.
so I'm still sober. I'm not a huge fan of beer. Well, it's a good thing that as you were experimenting with triggering your memories, Torok, that you didn't trigger any rage, because that could have been bad.
Good
So
point. I'll keep that in mind.
Also,
would've
can I
been
have the mead flask?
fortunate. We're on watch.
You can watch and I can have the mead flask.
Turok just pats your head.
Yeah, and I mean, even from Mint's point of view, the fact that Torok remembered anything, like in the sort of year and a half that you've known him, or about I guess year that you've known him, that is sort of something that has never come up before. So, yeah. All right, and Leon and Jacob.
I love that smile.
Man, we had a lot to drink last night. I can barely remember any of it.
Excellent. I was curious. You have shown a fair amount of arcane talent.
It's true.
And I'm thinking that once we return to the city, I want to do research into how to possibly undo the rituals that are being done to mutilate the creatures that we've seen and had to unfortunately put out of their misery, to see if we can find a way to undo it so that we don't have to kill all of them. And I was thinking that you could make an excellent research assistant.
Does that pay well? I am interested. I'm looking for work.
So you wouldn't do it simply so that we could bring these terrible beings to justice. You would require some kind of a monetary recompense.
Well, I also require eating. I wouldn't go without eating to rid the forest of what good would that do? If I don't get paid, I don't eat, I fall down, I'm useless, I'm of no use to anyone at that point.
Of course. Well, perhaps...
I have a side question. So the 2 of them are on watch right now, so obviously no one else is really privy to this conversation. But I'm wondering, I think this is the second time that Leon has, at some point, talked about wanting to rid the forest of evil. Has Alphonse heard that at all?
I don't think Alphonse has.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking I wanted to talk to Alphonse one of these days, but it never really came up, and I was like, I'll wait until later. But yeah, it's definitely... Alphonse is kind of next on my list of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely
sorry
willing.
to interrupt, though.
Absolutely willing to help out with some research. There are a few personal matters I need to take care of in the city, but yeah.
Right. Excellent. What did you think of the rituals that were occurring? Was there anything that you were able to discern about the creatures or the rituals or any such things?
I was too busy keeping everyone alive.
All right. Well, and I mean afterwards, once we were able to look at the ritual circle and such like that. By the way, I did mean to mention, and I have I have somehow forgotten to do so. But I did wish to mention that I thought that it was brilliant on your part to think of destroying that globe, which then was able to destroy the entire dome that we were in. So, good job.
Oh, thank you, Leon. I appreciate that. Thank you. And you seem to the light that you were shining on to help rescue all the innocents. That was quite brilliant.
Why, thank you.
Light puns.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the watch is full of awkward silence.
Yep. And as you get going the next morning, Leon, Alphonse sort of gets up, and sort of that being sparked in your mind, you can sort of pull Alphonse aside for a bit of conversation if you'd like.
Sure. Yes, I do ask him what, having been under its influence for so long, I was curious if you had any thoughts about what it might do. I am interested in researching how to possibly undo it, and certainly think that master that you spoke of, I'd like as accurate a description as you could possibly give, and I think that he should be brought to justice. And who better, or who else could possibly bring him to justice than perhaps us?
Well, I mean, there's a lot I don't know. Yeah, as I said, I did see that shadowy figure. I don't really know who that was. I've got a theory, but it seems kind of crazy. And I'm hoping it's not true.
All right.
Well, just given everything else that I've seen in the Shadow Forest, and I think the power that would be needed to create one of these, spheres initially, and just get this whole project, and I think it might be the Shadow Weaver.
Have I ever heard of the Shadow Weaver?
The Shadow Weaver is a god.
Okay.
Right. My fee has doubled.
Religion check?
Yeah.
To know about this Shadow Weaver individual?
Yeah. So you know that the Shadow Weaver is a god.
Yeah.
The symbol of the Shadow Weaver is just sort of a silhouette of somebody in sort of a black cloak, and yeah, generally they are worshipped by sort of thieves and denizens of the night, and that sort of thing. They tend to preside over chaos and trickery and shadow and deception and those sorts of things.
Okay.
Which level of god?
Ah, yes, it is an exoteric god, an fully ascended god.
Okay.
So,
And that was like the level after the ancient gods, right?
Yeah, so there's the ancient gods, the sort of the ascended gods, and then the ascending gods.
Okay. Thank you.
so you think that it's just because the level of power is what makes you think that it may be actually a deity that's involved?
Well, like I said, it's kind of a crazy theory. I don't really know if it's true. I mean, it could just be anybody in a cloak doing shadow stuff, but it was a feeling, and I, like I said, it's kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, you do have a connection to the divine, but you were also under some heavily distorting enchantment.
Yeah,
So perhaps it's a minion of
could
the
be
Shadow. Crap, I can't remember his name, but Leon undoubtedly can.
Shadow Weaver. Yes.
Shadow Weaver.
Yeah, it could be a minion of some sort. Yeah, but definitely there's something evil about these whole things, and yeah, all the work that they're doing there just seems like it's meant to spread darkness and evil throughout the forest, and maybe even beyond eventually. And the Shadow Forest is meant to be full of shadows. It's not meant to be evil.
No. Or full of arcane abominations.
No, that's all new as well. There's always been a little bit of oddity in some of the creatures in the Shadow Forest, but no, I don't think it's quite the same as this.
All right. And do you think that would you be interested in assisting in bringing this being to justice?
I'd definitely be interested in clearing out this evil from the forest. That's sort of what I've always been doing. That's always sort of been my goal.
And do you think that you could sway Gildy to join you?
Oh, I don't think that would be too hard.
Excellent.
Yeah, I know there's a bunch of spheres out there or domes or whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe there's like a home or a master one somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Might have to do some research to see if we can figure that out. And I don't think it's library research we need to do. I think we need to maybe capture somebody from one of these domes or something and see if we can get some information. I don't know.
Well, I'm thinking that we should start with some research and then do some field research.
Oh, fair, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a quick job though. From everything that I've sort of seen there, I think there's at least dozens, if not hundreds, of these sort of domes out there.
All right. Excellent. Okay. And then I guess maybe at the noon meal, because when it's nice and bright and sunny, is it bright and sunny?
Let's see.
Compared to the Shadow Forest, yes.
It's overcast and threatening rain, but it's not like dark.
Threatening rain. Okay. All right. Then at the noon meal, I kind of talk to everyone and say, all right. So I have been thinking that this is certainly a terrible travesty. These beings who are mutilating creatures and turning them into abominations, and that someone needs to bring them to justice. And who would that be other than perhaps us? And I know that Talon is already interested, and Alphonse is already interested. Torok, I know that you have a desire to destroy evil, which this clearly is evil, so I was thinking perhaps you might also.
Turok looks and says, well, it's certainly causing a problem for people.
It is.
It's
Look at
not
all
safe.
these individuals. And we know that there were other domes, so there are other individuals just as these individuals who are being distorted into those creatures that we had to murder. Well, kill in self-defense. But my thought is that we should pool our resources and we should work together. I'm wondering who among us wishes to be involved in this, and possibly of you who have been taken and been enslaved to these creatures. Are there any among you who would like to join us in this task?
Now, we barely survived being in one of them without really much in there. What makes us think that we can defeat whoever created this stuff?
Alphonse sort of addresses that. He pipes up. It's like, well, in terms of, defeating who created, I'm not sure about that, but I think if we went into one in the right way, I think, given everything that I've seen, the guards are not super attentive most of the time. I think if we were stealthy enough and we could sort of maybe take down a few at a time, I think each individual dome might not be that bad unless they start stalking them with tougher folk. But yeah, whoever this boss is, though, that's going to be a challenge. If we were going to go up against them, we definitely want some more help, and we need to maybe get a few more people to help us out with that.
Well, yes, and I'm not proposing that we run out haphazardly. In this situation, we stumbled upon one, and we still defeated them. I'm suggesting that we do the proper research, and then we engage in tactical warfare against them.
Leon, I think you need to be careful when you're talking about assembling a group of people who are capable of tactical warfare in these times, because even in Silver Lake, they're looking out for anybody who is trying to raise a small army that could potentially rise up against the current, blanking on the phrase, but you know what I'm talking about. There's a war going on, and basically if you're trying to rally up a group, even if it's to fight the shadows, they're going to think that that's a moniker for the current empire.
True.
You could be getting us all in trouble right now.
I was merely thinking that those among us right now could go and do this, and I was only saying tactical warfare as opposed to the stumbling upon them. Tactical strikes is what I was suggesting. We could certainly use wording that was not going to arouse suspicion about our actual plans or anything like that.
Gildy pipes up and she's like, well, I have connections. I have connections in the city. If we really needed to recruit people to our cause without arousing too much suspicion, I believe that I would be able to get people like that without risking us being attacked.
Yeah, and definitely like a small group of like less than 10 people, the authorities are probably not too concerned about. Yeah, it would be if you're like getting a group of 50 people together saying, we are going to practice tactical warfare out in the forest. That might arouse suspicion. But also specifically, if you're just going to say, we're going to go deal with stuff in the Shadow Forest, they might not care that much.
Okay.
Exactly. And I wasn't suggesting raising an army. I was merely suggesting that the group of us can go and deal with it, and trying to draw the difference between when we just blindly stumbled into a dome and now that we actually know things, doing further research and making more tactical decisions going forward.
So a couple people from the group that you saved, the guard that you went there to save, he sort of pipes up. He's like, look, I'm all for a good fight, and I appreciate what you guys are doing, but those things scare the crap out of me, and no, I'm not going to go back fighting people is one thing, fighting big monsters, that's not my thing, and so sorry about that. But one of the ones you saved who'd been there a little bit longer, a fellow named Creo from Silver Lake, he sort of pipes up. I was like, if you're going to go back, I'll go back.
Excellent.
And of pretty much all of the group, he's the only one.
Oh, that's fine. I just gave them the opportunity to join us if they should wish to do so.
Yeah.
All right. And did we find any additional resources within the Shadow Forest that we could possibly make use of? I don't know whether Leon has seen these coins or not.
Well, if you say a resource, I mean, Talon's not going to think of them as a resource. So Talon will not offer them as a resource in response to your question.
Yeah, you did all get money. I'm not sure if you added that to your characters or not.
No.
But I think we'd said about 240 gold, which would be about 60 each. So you will have some extra funds to recruit or live off of, or do as you please for a little while.
And there's also since we're now free of the forest and on our way back,
Yes.
there was the promise of payment.
Well, and Gildy's payment is coming from someone else. Gildy has part of it that she could provide.
Yes.
But yeah.
But there was the payment for the trip, but then also you had said you would cover half the expenses of the items which I procured for us.
Yes.
Since I did not have a Pegasus to deliver me my item.
So Gildy says, I will distribute all of the payment once we get back to town and I receive the payment from who, like, I guess she says the name of she says the name of the person who hired her.
All right.
So this being the third day out, does it get better or worse, the weather?
Better.
Oh, it gets a lot better. It clears up, and it's a sort of a brilliant sunny day by the time you get back to Silver Lake. The sun is just starting to sort of get just above the horizon in the west. You arrive back in the city. The city is still quite sort of active and buzzing. It's still, I think, about 11 days until the elections. So that's still sort of excitement and sort of buzz going on through the city. You get into sort of the main or the outer part of the city, the alley known as Woodside, which is on the southern side of the city. And from there, a lot of the people that you've rescued just start to disperse to sort of various different places. Some of them know the city, some of them don't. Some of them are helping other people and sort of getting around. There's only a few that continue on with you into the city proper, because you require either a pass or a sum of gold to get in, and Gildy has a pass, luckily. So you are able to get in, but yeah, there's a few people. Malika, the elf, is coming with you. Creo, he's like, well, I'm not usually go inside the city, but if you've got a pass, then I'll take a look around. That'd be kind of neat. And a couple others are sort of saying they will sort of take that entrance into the city as well. So you enter the city proper. You pass through the temple district. Most of that is on your left, but there's a few sort of temples on your right before the river that sort of snakes through the middle of the city. And past the temple district, you get to sort of, there's an open, not quite a village green, but sort of an open green area with a statue and a large sort of mechanical clock that's going in the center of the city. And if you continue down that road, you get to the Minstrel's Mews, and you can go back to your inn for the evening.
What time are we arriving?
It is late summer, so if the sun's setting, it's probably about like 7 o'clock at night.
Okay. Do I figure that well, yeah, it must be. I would know already if the House of Wands was open.
You get me, but maybe for you, he might open up if you could get his attention.
Oh, was I not there this late before?
You were there first thing in the morning last time.
Oh.
Are we talking the library or the shop?
The
The
shop.
shop.
Yeah, the shop was first thing in the morning.
Right. Okay. I'll see if he's open.
All right. So the rest of you sort of, well, you can go to the inn or not. Gildy, your actual house is not in the city proper. It's actually in Woodside, the alley.
Well, I would have gone looking for the person.
Right, yes. So you're going to the city and sort of going to find them. So yeah, you're probably going into the upper merchants district as well. Actually, probably just the lower merchants district. So Gildy sort of splits off, and we'll meet you back at the inn. Alphonse is going to sort of go with the rest of you to the inn and sort of see what that's like and wait for Gildy to come back. Leon, you get to the House of Wands, and Master Coromandius is actually just sort of, locking up and sort of seems to be heading out as you get there.
Oh. Hello, Coromandius.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I am doing quite well. How are you? I was wondering if perhaps I might be able to purchase the inks necessary for transcribing spell into my spellbook. It will only take a moment.
Oh, yes, of course. For you, yes, I can do that.
Well, thank you. Is there anything that I can do for you in return?
Well, I'm assuming you're going to pay for the ink.
Well, of course.
Payment is perfectly fine. All is needed at the moment. I can't think of anything that's I desire or greatly need at the moment. But if you're going to be in the city for a while, and I think if anything, I could always come find you.
All right. Well, I will certainly, anyone who I see who has an arcane talent, I will definitely recommend your store to them.
Thank you. Yeah. So you go in, you buy some ink.
Yep. Do I get it in any kind of a discount? I think he was usually giving me a discount.
Yeah, I think he was giving you like roughly a 10% discount. So yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Awesome.
How much are you getting roughly?
50 gold pieces worth, so it would be 45.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
All right. And are you returning to the inn after that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then having a bath, and then scribing a new spell into my spell book, and then possibly looking for Jacob if he's still awake.
Right. What is everyone else doing? You're back at the inn. Talon, you of course have your own place as well. You can sort of hang out at the inn for a little while, then go home. Yeah, what are people doing?
Talon's going to hang out at the inn with folks, assuming that Gildy's going to come back, because Talon doesn't know for sure. He's heard people are getting paid. Talon was never offered payment. He's
Yeah, actually,
what?
I think there was mention of money at some point, but yeah, not official amounts.
Oh, okay. I remember Gildy coming to Talon's apartment, for lack of a better word, room, and basically said, "Hey, I need help. We're in the Shadow Forest." And he just kind of said, whenever you ask, I'll be there. And that's all he really committed to. So yes, he's just gonna stick around and be curious and hang out with his acquaintances.
All right. Anybody else?
Turok's definitely ordering food. At this point, a nice meal.
And a nice meal here is expensive.
You may want to go somewhere else for a nice meal.
Well, not nice as in quality, it's just meal.
Well, a meal here is still
Not
expensive.
fair.
Leon picked the place. Fine
Yes.
taste here all the
True.
way.
Leon was paying for the place.
Yes. So you had
Turok,
to pay for
Turok's hotel room.
So per day. Yeah, it's probably like just for a meal, like 1 gold piece, which is quite expensive for like just food. So
And
Yep.
maybe he will find somewhere cheaper to get a lot more food for that price.
yeah, you'd have to take a bit of a walk. You're not close to anywhere cheaper.
That'll happen later.
Okay.
If Leon and Torok cross paths, then and Torok is going somewhere else, then Leon would definitely be willing to pay for that. That's not a problem.
Well, if you come back and offer to buy dinner for everyone,
All right. We'll say that we'll keep you together, and that happens.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I now that we have some money and things, I don't know if I would necessarily pay for the room. I'd at least be willing to pay for half of the room, but for a fancy meal, especially because Minusette has been sharing her rations with me, so I don't have to eat twigs and berries. Definitely buying Minusette a fancy meal
Nice.
in appreciation for that.
And
Cool.
Jacob, your sister is performing when you arrive.
Oh, excellent. I was going to see if I could hit a few of the bars in the area to figure out where she is. So what I'm going to do is look for a time between sets and see if she has any free time the next day to go for a meal and catch up.
All right. Yeah, she would love to. Definitely the next day you can catch up and have lunch. She's staying in the Lower Merchants District.
The Napping Gnome?
Yeah, she's staying at the Napping Gnome. If you wanted to stop by there, the food's decent.
Sure.
All right. I'm going to meet at the Napping Gnome for lunch. She sort of gives you the rough directions on how to get there. You are semi-familiar with the Lower Merchants District because that is where your cart is.
I
and
should see
there's
how
also
my cart's doing.
there's also a note waiting for you when you get back to the inn. Somebody apparently tracked you down with saying that yes, payment for the rental for where your cart has been staying is overdue. Your cart has been impounded until the payment is received.
Do they give what the fine is on the cart?
Yeah, payment I believe is about let's see, we're gone for 6 days. Yeah, 6 days. Payment is 2 silver pieces.
Then I'll go through shortly after, and I'll just go. Actually, maybe tomorrow morning I'll go and pay the amount back.
All right. Gildy, yes, you speak with the merchant. You get the full 500 gold payment. The guard is returned to him in good condition, and he's very happy. Turns out the guard was some sort of vague relation, a nephew of some sort, which is why he was quite concerned about him. So yes, they sort of have a bit of a reunion. You get your full payment and are able to bring that back to the others.
Excellent. So how much do we get?
Good question. So that was 500.
Yep.
And there are 6 of us.
And I think
It's not 500. You already gave money to Jacob.
Yeah, well, 5.
I think you gave me 5 gold.
And I believe you owe me 45 additional gold for.
We'll figure that out afterwards. We'll do the divvying up and then.
Yes.
Okay.
Just saying.
Okay, let me see here.
I have expensive tastes. I need money.
Yep.
I was going to say. So it should be 450 divided by 6, so 75 each, and then Leon should get her 45, and Jacob's already got his 5 from earlier.
Okay. Why was it 450 divided by 6 and not 500 divided by 6?
Because 5 was already given to Jacob, and 45 is put on hold for Leon.
Well, I thought that was like part of like a down payment on it, not an extra payment.
Is that what it was?
So just divide up the 500 plus, I think Gildy had some extra that she was potentially going to throw in, so she could potentially bring it up to a divisible amount.
Then it would be 83 each, or if you wanted to round that down, you could probably get away with giving us 80 each and just have a little extra from it for your
Let me
own
just
cut.
double check my notes.
Yeah,
What
I can.
Rob told me. What was
Yeah,
the extra?
Yep, I'm just gonna take a look at that. You had an extra 250
Ooh.
that you can use any or all of because that's your funds. But yeah.
Okay.
Or you could give 5, split the 500 amongst the 5 other people and keep your 250.
You don't wanna
No,
lose
I'll
command.
split it. I'll split it evenly. So I will give each. So each person gets 125. So I took 750 and divided it by 6. Except Jacob, who already got 5, so he gets 120. And then I will give Leon out of my own pocket.
Yep.
The extra 45.
All right.
Sweet.
So is the 125 on top of the 60 from earlier?
Yes.
Nice.
And since money is being brought up, Talon, do you mention anything?
Well, I gave some to Talon.
I know.
No, about that, yeah. So while we're all kind of like sitting there, I'll kind of like pull out of my bag and said, one of the things that was found in that, one of the tents of that darkness was, and I kind of pull this little sack, and I reach inside and I grab like just a couple of, they're like large copper coins. So they're about twice the size of a regular kind of coin. And I'm like, I don't know, they seem very old. I don't recognize the currency.
Why didn't you list those among the resources we got from the dome?
It's not a resource, it's a coin.
Yes,
You're like,
which is a resource.
it's a coin.
Funds are a resource, clearly.
So for the rest of you, roughly what they look like. So coins are usually sort of stamped out, so they've got a rough shape to them. These look like they were sort of almost a blob of copper that then had a stamp pressed into them, to sort of semi-flatten them and sort of create an impression on them. So they're very roughly shaped, roughly sort of unevenly weighted, given sort of from coin to coin, and they have a very distinct sort of stamp that's been put on all of them.
Might I see one of those, please?
Alan hands you a coin.
Am I able
Alright.
to cast guidance on Leon
Yep.
to help him with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, okay.
So you get an extra D4.
I know. Well, that's a good thing then.
Plus a d4, right?
Yeah. All right, so 16. So I'm assuming that was a history check.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, you take a moment to study these. You sort of remember back through your studies and what you know about the symbol that might be on them, and you sort of hit upon something and are actually a little shocked. These coins are from the Age of Wonders, and like so. Just to give you a rough sense of ages, the current age you're in is called the Age of Restoration. It's been going for about almost 500 years, 470 some odd years. The Age of Wonders lasted for about almost 3,000 years before that. And you figure this is more towards like the beginning or sort of early middle part of that period. So this is easily 2,000 years old. Yeah. And
I am sharing all of that he just said is what I am sharing.
And the sort of the kingdom that it would be from, or sort of the area that it would be from. Again, you sort of hit on sort of ancient little piece of knowledge. There used to be a kingdom in what is now the Haramadine Desert, and it used to not be a desert. And you've fairly certain that this mark is sort of from that kingdom.
Oh. Which, if I am not mistaken, is to the northeast of here. So that's really not so far away, so it makes sense.
East and actually a little, well, it pretty much directly east is the desert. Most of it is actually, the bulk of it is actually southeast.
Really?
Yeah.
So generally to the east-ish of this area then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's my map?
Yeah, from what I was looking at, it looked like
it's pretty much directly east. But yeah, the kingdom itself was actually sort of a little more southeast, from what you remember.
So yes, I provide all of this history.
Okay.
We should get this appraised.
Well, I was going to do that. Can I determine how much these are worth?
Oh, here comes a map.
No, can't quite see it. A little too small. Yeah, you can get them appraised. That would be an interesting endeavor. You figure they're definitely worth more than just sort of the copper that they're in because of their historical value.
Okay. Would I be able to give them at least a rough appraisal?
Yep. You figure each one of these, so because they're heavier than sort of a copper coin of the period, at the very least, given weight just in copper, they're worth probably at least 2 copper pieces for every one of these. But you figure, given the historical value and everything else, you figured that it's probably worth at least 1 to 2 silver for each one of these.
All right.
And you have 42 of them.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a fortune, but it's definitely an interesting find.
Leon, is there any magic emanating from
them? In my observation of them, did they seem to be magical at all?
With a quick detect magic, there's no magic here.
Okay. Well, my detect magic is never quick, because I only cast it as a ritual.
That's right. With a not quick detect magic, yes, you don't find any magic there.
So what do people think a pouch of ancient coins are doing inside a dome? Is that how long this thing's been around for?
That would be my guess.
Wow.
Either that or somebody had them and were just eventually deposited there when that person got taken.
What does the bag look? What does the bag look like? Does the bag?
The bag does not look ancient. The bag looks sort of like a regular, normal bag from. I mean, it's roughed up. Maybe it's anywhere between like a dozen and a couple dozen years old.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be too out there to think that possibly there was a like an archaeologist who had been traveling around, went into the forest, and ended up running afoul of these.
Also, it is regular business in Silver Lake for people to go out into the desert to find treasures from, lost periods and bring it back.
Yeah, so treasure hunter went out and has not come back.
Well, we can take these in, see if we can, get some current money for them and share the wealth.
Well, I mean, it doesn't sound like they're worth. Well, we could always get them appraised to see if my appraisal is accurate or not. I expected that it is, but it's always possible that it's slightly off.
You also get the sense that they would be worth more to historians than you would just to like somebody who deals in money, right? There's sort of who you sell them to is to their worth.
That's true. I would be happy to find a historian who might be interested in these.
Talon hands you the bag.
All right. I pop it into the bag of holding.
All right.
And I mean, if I hold it for another 700 years, then they're worth even more.
There's that.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah, you have a bit of a sort of a celebratory drink after sort of the money is passed around.
I do not.
Well, yes.
Do not.
You could have, a little bit of wine if you wanted, but yes, you don't have to. Gildy, do you stick around for sort of any length of time after that? There has been discussion, and sort of Alphonse has included you in sort of further work with this group to look more into the Shadow Forest and deal with what the darkness that's there. So definitely there's going to be more with this group potentially. Alphonse definitely seems to want to do that, and other people seem to be interested. So yeah, you're not necessarily leaving permanently, but you do have a home you can go
Gildy, Gildy is not surprised that Alphonse is all aboard the Let's Solve the Evil in the Forest train, since that is what they had been doing for like 30 years prior to that. So is happy to help Alphonse like with so group. She would just kind of go along with whatever he wanted to do. I think after dinner and beverages and everything, she's going to take Alphonse back to where she's living in the city, and she's probably going to be attempting to contact her children to be like, hey, found it.
Yeah, it's relatively late at night, so you might be doing that the next day, but yeah, definitely sort of getting a hold of them. Yes. Okay. So they head out. Talon, do you stick around?
So I'll stick around for one drink, although he's probably not going to have any alcohol, but just a beverage to kind of share.
Milk.
So yes, does the body good. That's how you get to be big and strong. And Talon just, at a certain point, kind of excuses himself and just says, "It has been an adventure." Kind of turns to Leon and says, when you'd like to get started, let me know. On the quest for the shadowy forest and such. But he's like, this was fun. And lets you know where he lives.
Oh, good. I was going to wait and see if you actually...
I was trying to remember the exact name of the place. I was kind of going, is it Woodside? No.
I believe it's in Woodside.
It's in Woodside, yeah. And he lets you know where it is, and then just kind of bids you all a good evening.
Okay. Leon asks for directions before you leave.
All right. He gives you directions on how to find his room.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because then I'll remember them for a month.
Yes. Yes.
All right. And yes, Jacob, you have your chat with your sister and sort of set up the lunch for the next day.
Excellent.
Things start to quiet down a little bit. The evening is wearing on. Some of the people are sort of filtering in and out.
Before Jacob leaves our little circle of celebratory stuff, I pull out the spell book that I found in the Shadow Forest and say, I found this among the wizards that we had defeated, and I didn't know if, as an artificer, you could perhaps use it to learn some spells.
That's a very nice gesture. Unfortunately, I don't use spell books.
Oh,
I'm more like a sorcerer in that way. If that's a class in Dungeons and Dragons and not just
Yes.
Pathfinder.
It is, yes. There's much more natural spell casting, yes.
So you just come into your magical talent naturally. It's not from any kind of like study or anything.
Well, it is from study. I tinker with things, and somehow in my tinkering, magical things happen.
I see.
It's more of a study of the mechanics of the universe and bringing out magic through that. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, I love playing around with this stuff. I have I have lots of little equipment that I play with. Occasionally things go awry, but sometimes I find some new effects that are quite interesting. Fun. A little chaotic, but who doesn't love a little chaos in their life, huh? A little punch in the arm to Leon.
Yes. Well, so
I'm working on a neat one right now. If you twist my little cube in a certain way, a blinding light will come out, and he starts fiddling with the cube. And
I see. That's fascinating, I'm sure.
Wait, do you see or do you get blinded by the cube?
no, there's no blinding. I'm just saying that I'm that's the effect I'm going for, which I can't actually produce.
All right. We've come to sort of a fairly natural winding down point there, and we're sort of at a decent stopping point. So I will say that is good for us for this week. We'll pick up next week with a bunch of the other little things that need to go on in the city, and sort of resuming daily life as we sort of get ready for the next bit of the adventure and heading back into the Shadow Forest. Yeah. Thank you for joining us on our adventures. This has been a lot of fun tonight. We've learned a lot about characters. Was there anything that came up in the chat that I missed?
Nope.
No. Okay. So definitely feel free to reach out to us on the Facebook group or anywhere else. If there are things you'd like to know and questions you want answered, we may not be able to answer them because people are people and they have secrets. But I'd be curious to know what you're interested in, and maybe we'll see if we can get there at some point. So thank you very much. You guys take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time on the next level.
Bye.